Welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. Today, it's feeling like fall here in Bend. It's about halfway through October. So I wanted to talk to you about mushroom hunting in Central Oregon and what the seasons are for it, maybe some different spots if you're lucky to hear, because it's quite a secret. Talk about safety and strategy as well. So we find morels in the burn spots, chanterelles happen under the fir trees, and we find king mushrooms after the snow line. Central Oregon is a forager's playground, among other things. So if you know when, where, and how, today I'm going to walk you through how to plan a legal, safe, and family-friendly mushroom hunt. This is where you're going to learn from trailhead to the sauté pan and everything in between. Here's a fast safety note before we geek out on the whole mushroom hunting thing. You want to make sure that you only eat what you positively identify. This is not a guessing game because there are plenty of mushrooms out there that look like real ones, but they're not. They can be dangerous and poisonous. And so it's really important that either you just go out and have fun and look for them for the hunt, or you know exactly what you're looking for. You can check your local OSU extension resources or a mycology club online, just post it on Facebook to confirm IDs. Because rules change, you also may want to carry the proper forest permit and know your daily limits for particular mushroom types, because over a certain limit it can be considered commercial mushroom hunting and you can get fined if you get caught with too many mushrooms out there, which, you know, wouldn't that be a dream? Too many mushrooms, right? So you're always going to want to check the specific forest that you're going into before you harvest for these types of rules and regulations. All right, now for the juicy stuff. What grows here and when can you get it? There is a season for different mushrooms here in Central Oregon, like everywhere, right? In spring, so we consider spring here April through June. It kind of depends on elevation you're at, right? Because the further south you go, the higher the elevation gets. So the season gets extended a little bit there in the winter. But in the spring here is when you find morels, and they usually pop at higher temps when it gets warmer a little bit later in the season, and you'll find them at lower elevations earlier in the season. People here like to say when the snow on top of Black Butte melts, that's usually a good time to go mushroom hunting and also gardening as well. When you're in late spring or early summer, we often see things like spring king mushrooms and porcinis if you get really lucky, and the morels start to fade up in those high elevations, but you know, you'll still see a few sporadic ones in those areas that are a little bit cooler pockets. Fall, where we are now, chanterelles are the name of the game in the fall, and we find those in our pine forests, specifically the conifers. And then there's some more porcinis out there this time of year as well. And I even was at a property the other day and found some bullets down in South Deschutes County. So permits and limits. In the Deschutes National Forest, there is a permit required for mushroom harvesting. That is if you are hunting commercially, right? Because free use and commercial use have different limits and different fees. Matsutake mushrooms, if you're, again, lucky enough to be able to identify and find those, they actually smell and taste a little bit like blue cheese. They're awesome. Have their own permit window and rules. Neighboring forests around here, like the Willamette, they may set a different gallon per day limit by the seasons, but just don't assume that you know. Just make sure you verify before stepping into the forest that day, because it's better to just go have fun than have to worry about people asking you these questions or getting in trouble. So where to look? That's the fun part, right? Because you think you know, you do all this research, you think the habitat is perfect for it, and they are elusive. But You have to think like a mushroom, okay? For morels, they like those areas that were recently burned. Like when you're out in the forest and you see those skid tracks for when there's the controlled burning, when there's the heavy the machinery out there, that is a place to come back the next year, right? They really like those prior year wildfire areas or controlled burn areas. And those areas tend to have open canopy and blackened duff, right? That stuff on the forest floor that was just burned. It's a really good medium for them. And I would recommend starting around 4,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level in late May to early June. And then just chase the snow line, right? Keep going upwards each week. Check the sunny edges of the charred logs and stumps because that is where they will tend to grow and fruit first. All right, natural morels. They tend to be mixed with conifer and grand fir and pine. And then they also really like areas right above creeks and filtered light. They also like warming soils and spring rains. Read between the lines there, huh? Okay, chanterelles. They like it wet, right? That's why they come back out when it starts to rain here in the fall. They tend to be in mossier areas, mossier ground cover on north-ish slopes, tend to be under hemlocks or firs. And then they often hide in clusters. And the best way that you can tell if it's a real chanterelle and not a fake one is the texture test. If you tear them and they tear like cooked chicken breast, you know you've got the right thing. Porcini, kings. Higher elevation conifer stands, and these are best to look for them with warmer nights when the nights are still warm. So with these, you want to look for firm caps with white pores and avoid like the really big, over mature, spongy ones because they're definitely past their prime. Okay, things you might need when you get out there. Your gear list, your real world list for getting out there and having a good time when you're mushroom hunting. You need just like a mesh bag, or we have like a little market basket, a little woven basket. Because you know what's nice is like when you carry them around this way, it spreads the spores and you get to make more mushrooms this way. Or you can bring wax paper or paper bags for things that you don't necessarily want to spread the spores of because you don't know what they are, right? Of course, a sharp knife for cutting at the base, and then a brush for field cleaning, getting the dirt off as you go. I like to make sure that I screenshot where I am in the forest or have some sort of like preloaded map, downloaded map on my phone, because a lot of the places where you go mushroom hunting, there's no GPS or, online map service. But when you get there, make sure that you pinpoint it or take a photo so you can go back to that spot on the map at a later date, right? Other things like we already talked about, permits, if you need them. You might want to whistle for safety, headlamp, a small first aid kit, definitely water and snacks, and layers, lots of layers for mountain weather, because weather in the spring and the fall here in Bend up in the mountains can get crazy, right? You might want gaiters in the spring to account for snow where you didn't know it was going to be. You might want an orange vest in the fall during hunting seasons to make sure that you're not in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then if you're feeling like a real safety person, you might want to bring some sort of bear bell. Bears aren't hugely an issue out here, but we've seen one or two in the last few years. And then if you bring kids along, we like to bring color-coded bags. That way they know which ones to touch and which ones not to touch, right? If there's any questionable ones. 3 habits that you can implement to keep safe while you are mushroom hunting. Number 1, confirm the whole mushroom. Look at the cap, the gills, the pores, the stem, the base, smell it, look at where you found it, color changes or bruising. No single trait on mushroom hunting is decisive, so you want to make sure all of these things align with what you know about that particular variety of mushroom and that it's edible. You want to, number 2, separate your unknowns. We already talked about this. Keep them in their own bag and do not spread those spores. And then finally, cook it first and start small. Even some of the known edibles, you just want to make sure you try a small portion first and see how you feel. Make sure that it aligns with what you think is an edible mushroom. Otherwise, a really great idea is just joining a club, right? If you don't have the confidence yet, there's plenty of clubs where you can go with a local guide or just people that have done this before. And it's also a great way to learn where to look and what to look for and kind of really get that mushroom eye that it takes to find these little elusive things. As we always say on these videos when we're talking about Bend and nature, we want to make sure that everyone leaves no trace. Please just don't, rake all of the mushrooms you find out there, and make sure that you replace the soil that you remove and the soil that you disturb. You want to make sure when you're mushroom hunting that you cut them and not pluck them, because that will mean that they will grow back later, right? Harvest lightly in these pressured areas. Like, share the forest. You don't have to. Do you really need 10 gallons of one type of mushroom if you're not harvesting them commercially and selling them to a restaurant? Probably not. And then respect closures in private land. Of course, you want to pack out all of your trash and any extra that you might find. And sometimes forests are closed for a good reason, because they're doing some sort of preservation or trail upkeep or something like that. So definitely respect those boundaries. With kids, strategy to keep it fun, keep it like to 60 to 90 minutes, because it gets old real fast after that, and you've got to walk all the way back to the car that you walked away from, right? Bring that water, bring those snacks. And sometimes if you assign people roles, because everybody's going to want to take turns cutting them and holding the mushrooms and reading the map and whatever, what have you, just assign roles and take turns. Just plan ahead for that. Non-negotiables with your kids: stay in sight. A whistle means freeze. Absolutely no tasting the mushrooms. And then it can turn into a walk in the woods as an adventure instead of like a trip to the emergency room, right? Okay, when you get back to home and you've found all these wonderful mushrooms, dry clean your mushrooms first. Do not run them under water unless they're like really, really dirty, okay? And then make sure that you dry them thoroughly anyways, because they'll get gross if you wet them. But dry clean with a brush works best. You can cook them and freeze them, and eat them later, or use them fresh. If you sauté them like in portions and then freeze them, that's one good way to preserve them. With porcinis, probably dehydrating them tends to be better than cooking them. Now it's time to plan your first or your next mushroom hunting trip. Remember, spring morels are on recent burns, fall chanterelles are in conifer forests. Try and check out a stand that you already know so you're not hunting around for hours and find nothing. Make sure you check the exact forest permits and limits before you go, and then download your maps before you go, mark your trailhead, and set a turnaround time. Also, join a local club. Workshops, ID tables, and guided walks will level you up and probably teach you something new and something tasty. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. When you come to Bend and you don't want to leave, we would love the opportunity to help you buy or sell a home here in Central Oregon, and make this beautiful place we all call home a home for you as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.